management. This is another topic in the project management. Today, we will talk about the cost in the project management, the costs in the project management. And I will start just now by sharing the screen, and we will go to there from this topic directly into our own work of today, project cost management. Costs are very important for any project because costs determine for you your profits. The more you reduce the costs, the higher the profits will be. So our learning objectives from this chapter will be understand the importance of project cost management, explain the basic project cost management, explain concepts and terms, describe the process of planning cost management, discuss different types of cost estimates and methods of preparing them. How we can do the costs, how can we estimate the costs, and how can we prepare these cost estimates. Understand, we also learn here, understand the process of determining a budget and preparing a cost estimates based on it. Understand the benefits of earned value management, EVM. We will know what do we mean by earned value management and the project portfolio management also to assist in cost control. Describe how projects management software can assist in project cost management. And those are our own aim from this chapter today. So do you think that the cost management, the project to control the costs, is it a matter of issue? This issue does it matter or no? Yes, of course it matters. IT projects have a poor track record of meeting budget goals. Usually, a cost overrun is the additional percentage or dollar amount by which actual costs exceed estimates. Okay. What went wrong as example here? The United Kingdom National Health Services IT modernization program was called the greatest IT disaster in history with an estimated 26 billion overrun, means extra than supposed to be costs. Those are extra costs than what's supposed to be. The program had a problem due to incompatible systems, resistance for physicians, and argument among contractors about who's responsible for what. It was finally scrapped in 2011. Okay. So now we'll move into the definition of the cost. What do we mean by the word costs? Cost is a resource sacrificed or foregone to achieve a specific objective. Like you as example, when you pay any costs in your life, you sacrifice with the money which you have because you would have done another thing, which we call it opportunity cost, another benefit you can do with this cost which is sacrificed with, or something given up in exchange. Like as example, when I buy something, I exchange the money with this stuff. Costs are usually measured in monetary units like dollars or rupees or yuan. So we measure it in units. Project cost management. So now we talk about the definition of the cost. Now we will talk about the project cost management includes the process required to ensure that the project is completed with an approval budget, so that the costs are not so high, so that the cost in its limit, and there is best resource allocation, and that every penny you spend is in the right place, and there is a rationalization in the cost itself. Means this is the minimum cost that you should spend. You spend the minimum cost, so your costs are mean that you best allocate your resources. It means that no waste. It means that you are on the right place. You know what you're spending, and you know that the spending you are rationalized about your spending for the project. So this is the project cost management, and we will stop here now and ask our first question. So we will go to a new slide and say, what is Control and V, project cost management? Time to spend here for answering this question. You can Google the answer also, and you send it for me on Google on the chat box. You can send to me the answer here on the chat box. So here, what is project cost management? And we will stop here for our first question, which is about 5 minutes to get the answer for this question. Please send your answers on the chat box. Thank you. We're back. So the project cost management process. What are the process which is done in the project cost management? What do we do in the project cost management? We plan first. We plan for the cost management. Planning means to know where you are, where you want to go, how you will go there. This is the meaning of planning. Where you are, where you want to go, how to go there. This is the meaning of planning. So you first plan for the cost management. So this means including determining the policies, procedures, and documentation, all what you need for this plan. That will be used for planning, executing, and controlling a project cost. So all would be included in the project cost itself. The second point, after you plan the costs, or the second procedures, after you plan your cost management, you have to estimate the costs. Once you plan it, you start to estimate this cost. Developing an approximation or estimate of the costs of the resources needed to complete a project. It's just estimation. And the word estimation means that it accepts deviations ups or down. As example, I put a cost like around $5, maybe 5.5, maybe 4.5, but it's not exactly 5. Okay, so those what we call estimate. Determining the budget. The word budget means the revenues and expenses. And in that case, you will allocate all the resources which you need to allocate for your budgeting. So allocate, when you say like exactly when you say I will budget myself, means that you try to see order. You will spend $20 here in stuff A, and $100 for your rent, and $20 for your taxes, and $20 for your dinner. So all this we say like allocating resources. We call it allocating resources. Allocating the overall cost estimates to individual work. So let's say, as example, this project needs $100,000. So the production department will need for its expenses $60,000. Financial department will take $20,000, and so on. So you put allocation for each part of the project. You will build a building. You will have a building. So the ground floor will cost you like around the constructions, and the concrete will cost for all the building $100,000, carpentry like $30,000, and so on. So you are always allocating the resources of your own costs. Means each department or each part of the or each process, you will assign costs for this stage or process. Allocating the overall cost estimates to individual work items to establish a baseline for measuring performance. We will never measure the performance without having the standards or the baseline. So you put allocate the resources. So this will be the standard. Based on this standard, after this, you will measure the real performance and check out if there is any deviation or no based on the real performance. Controlling costs, controlling changes to the project budget. Okay. Here you can see project cost management summary. So those are the process. The first you plan cost management. Your outputs cost management plan is done. You're done for it. The process you estimate the costs, the overall costs for all the project. The outputs activity cost estimates, basis of estimates like what, why did you do this estimates? Why did you say $60,000 for this department, $20,000 for this part, $20,000 for this phase? Based on what? What is your criteria? Project documents updates. The process determine budget. So that's all. Budget means how to see the future in the expenses, how the expenses will look. Okay, cost baseline, project funding requirements, project documents updates. Like I told you before, when there is planning, there must be control because we put the plan is the standards. The control is the actual performance, measuring the actual performance. We do this way. We compare between the planned and the actual performance to check out if there are deviations, then we have to correct these deviations. Okay. Output work performance information, cost forecast, change requests. So that's what the outputs of here. Project management plan updates. You will update your plan. Project documents updates. You will see that there are more documents needed for the system, or you have to change the documentation system based in changing in the project management. And organizational process assets updates. Also, if you change on all of those assets, you also have to make updates for that. Basic principles of cost management. Here we will start to move into very important points. What are the basic principles of cost management? Most members of an executive board are better understand and are more interested in financial terms than IT terms. Yes. He would say that the managers of financial, they focus more on the financial terms like bankruptcy, like solvency, like leverages, like the ratios, like the asset ratios, the quick ratio. Those are the concern of the financial people. Okay, the debt ratio, the credit ratio, all those, the quick asset ratio. Those are all the care or the interest of the financial people in any organization. That's true. They don't care about the IT more than they care about the financial ratios, or financial stuff or terminologies which is used there. So IT project managers must speak their language. Okay. So IT managers also must do the way they do. They have to understand what they are talking about so they can ask for more money or whatever. Okay. Profits are revenues minus expenditures. That's true. Okay, let me say the sell price of this phone, is $100. To sell it the brand new, $100. But the cost of this cell phone is $80. Then the profits are $100 minus 80. Then the profits will be $20 for this cell phone. Profit margin is the ratio of revenues to profits. The revenues into the profit. Okay. So, as example, how much is the revenues? How much is the profits to the total revenue? How much, like as example, I did $100 profits, but the total sales is 100,000. Then 100 divided by 100,000 will give me the profit margin. Life cycle costing. What is the life cycle costing? Also, we have to know this. Consider that total costs of ownership or development plus support costs for a project. So the life cycle costing consists of the ownership cost plus development cost. Okay, cash flow analysis. What do we mean by the word cash flow? Cash flow determined and estimated the annual cost and benefits for a project and the resulting annual cash flow. Okay. The ROI. What do we mean by the word ROI? The ROI means return on investments, our returns on investments. Okay. So we knew now what do we mean by the word cost, and we said that the costs are sacrifice. It's a kind of sacrifice. Now we will move into another idea, which are the types of cost. What are the types of cost? But before I go also to this question, before we go to this question, we can say a question here, Control and C, then I have to insert a new slide. What are the basic principles of cost management? And the answer of this question actually is here. You will say, what do you know about profits? What do you know about the profit margin? What do you know about the life cycle costing and cash flow analysis? Those are the four things in brief. So here, what are the basic principles of cost management? Here, you will answer and put those idioms or those terminologies which we mentioned in the previous page. And I will also leave for you the page for 5 minutes. If you want to Google search and send answers, please send me the answers on the chat box. This is the chat box. When you open your own portal, you will find the chat box like here. Here is the chat box. You will send it here. You'll press, then send it to me. Okay. So here is now what are the basic principles of the cost management. Okay. We'll move into another slide now, or we will wait here around 5 minutes to get your answer back of this question before we move into another part of this lecture. So we are back, and we will move now into a new question, a new page, a new slide, a new topic in our own work. Type of costs and benefits. Let us say the types of costs is very important to know what are the types of costs. So what are the types, the general types of costs which we know in our own project management? We have tangible costs or tangible benefits. That are those costs or benefits that an organization can easily measure in dollars. Tangible means you can touch it, you can see it. For that reason, we call it tangible costs or benefits, because you can see it and you can touch it. Tangible costs or benefits are costs or benefits that are difficult to measure in monetary terms. Those are the intangible. So the tangible, you can touch it, you can catch it in your hand. I can see this now, it's okay. But the intangible, which you cannot touch it with your hand, it's difficult to translate it into monetary units. As example, the goodwill or the reputation of a company in the market, how far this company is known in the market. Direct costs. What are the direct costs? Are costs that can be directly related to producing the product and services of the project. Okay. Okay, so those are the direct costs, are costs that can be directly related to producing the products and services of the project. So the direct costs, I know it exactly. I brought this raw materials, I brought these pieces, I brought whatever, and each thing is called direct cost related to the volume of production. Indirect costs are costs that are not directly related to the product or services of the project, but are indirectly related to performing the project. Sunk costs is another cost we say is money then that has been sent in the past, that we spent in the past. This is, we call it sunk cost. When deciding what projects to invest in or continue, you should not include sunk costs. So if you want to make the project, in that case, don't talk about the money which you spent in the past for or calculated for doing the project. Okay. Also, we need to know some things like learning curve theory states that when many items are produced repetitively, when you produce, the more you produce, the unit cost of this item decrease. Why it will decrease? Because when you work more on the same, when you are very specified and specialized, you will reduce the time you will spend in producing one unit. So the cost will go down. That's why the more I get clever, the more I get skillful, the more I get experienced, the less the time will be consumed for producing the same unit. I can do the unit faster, so I will save time, and time is money. So that means I will save costs as well. In a regular pattern, as more units are produced. Reserves are dollars included in cost estimates to mitigate. So the reserves, dollars included in a cost estimates to mitigate cost risk. So reserves, I will keep, as example, you put in your pocket $20, you put them in the cupboard, or $100, you put them in the cupboard, you say this is reserve, I will not touch it. That's only I will use it in the cases of emergency. I will use this $20 or $50 or whatever you will put in the cupboard in the case of emergency, but I will never touch it. It's only to transfer the risk. It's the reason or the purpose is to transfer the risk. Also, we have the word contingency reserves. The word contingency means based on the situation. Allow for future situations that may be partially planned for, sometimes called known or unknown, and they are included in the project cost baseline. So contingency reserves, we put it just in case, okay? Because maybe something will happen in the future. So I will be prepared, well prepared with the contingency reserves. Okay, management reserves allow for future situations, but by the way, most of them are for the future, either the contingency reserves or the management reserves allow for future situations that are unpredictable, sometimes called unknown. So here the contingency will be known unknown, but the managed reserves is called unknown. Okay, when we plan for the cost management, so before I leave this, I will go for what is the main types of costs. What are the main types of costs? Here I will say question, Control and C, and I will go here for a new slide, and I will say what are the types of costs? What are the types of costs? And I will keep here around 5 minutes, we have direct cost and indirect cost. We have also implicit cost and explicit cost. Let me tell you something. If you will go to the cinema as example, and you will watch a movie, so you paid for the ticket $5. This is explicit cost because this cost is shown up and clear. $5 for the cinema fare or ticket. Okay, but the implicit cost are those indirect costs or hidden costs that is related by indirect way to go to the cinema. Like what? Like as example, if you will have a cup of tea, if you will have a dinner while you are going to the cinema, you went to the cinema in a taxi, and all those are costs, we call it implicit costs, which the main reason for this implicit cost is you're going to the cinema. So the going to the cinema, the ticket itself is explicit cost. But the other expenses which you'll spend to go to the cinema, it is called implicit cost. The implicit is hidden cost. It's like hidden cost. We came to know from the learning curve theory that the more you specialize in producing one product, the less it takes time to do it because you will be experienced. Okay, think about yourself when you type on the computer for the first time, you type on your laptop, you last a long time to press on the buttons. See you now, very quickly you do this. The same idea. When you do the same job for a long time, you will save a lot of time. You will do it in a shortest period, and time is money, as you know. So when you do it in a shortest period, the cost will reduce and will go down. Okay. So we went into the types of costs. We talk about what are the types of costs in this situation. Then we will move into the basic principles of cost management. The basic principles of cost management. So what are the basic principles of cost management? We said the reserves, and actually the most important point here I would like to say is the rationalization from rational. Rational means when I spend my money, I spend as a rational person. When we spend invest, we know each penny in its place, and in the same time the costs are to the minimum level, the costs of production to the minimum level. This we call it the basic principles of cost management. Planning cost management. How will I plan the cost management? The project team uses expert judgments, analytical techniques, and meeting to develop the cost management plan. So it's a consultative work that more than one person will work on it, and they all cooperate together as a team, like you see here, a team, to do the cost management plan. A cost management plan should include level of accuracy and units of measure. So you won't leave anything. You would say, as example, prediction for the spend for each department will be $20,000 for phase one or department one, $10,000 for department two, with a degree of confidence 95%. Means you are quite sure that these numbers are right with a degree of 95%. Organizational procedures links, control thresholds, rules of performance measurements, reporting formats, and process description. And we'll take each one of them. The most important thing is that the project managers must take cost estimates seriously if they want to complete projects with budget constraints. They must be very serious when they do this. It's impossible to know the type of cost estimates, how to prepare cost estimates, and typical problems associated with IT cost estimates. It's very important to know the type of cost estimates. What is the type? Is it implicit or explicit, like we said before, direct costs or indirect costs? How to prepare cost estimates? What is the media you are using in the cost estimates? And that's what we would see in the practical part. How you calculate the costs, how you will estimate the costs. Okay, notice that we are always working in risk, and the word risk means a change in the estimations. As example, I said before, like I told you in the previous lecture, risk means the gap between the actual results, and the planned results. So the gap between them give me what we call it risk. And typical problems associated with IT cost estimates. That's fine. Okay. The next point is types of cost estimates. Types of cost estimates. So what are the types of cost estimates? The types of cost estimate, the type of estimate, the first one is rough order of magnitudes, ROM. This is the first type of cost estimates, rough order of magnitude. When we do this very early in the project life cycle, often 3 to 5 years before project completion. So we'll do this type of estimate before the completion of the project from 3 to 5 years, and very early in the project life cycle itself. Why we use the ROM, or rough order of magnitude 2, as a kind of type of cost estimates? Because to provide us estimates of costs for selection decisions. Okay, it's how far it's accurate in between 50% and 100%. Okay. So that is more or less from minus 50% to 100% accurate. So accurate depends on the period and the length of the period of time. So if the period of time is few days, like as example, you know tomorrow the costs of the raw materials, but you don't know the costs of this raw materials after 5 years, how much it will cost you. So the more the time, the less the accurate. The more the time pass by, the less the accurate should be. The second type of cost estimate, we call it budgetary, from budget, budgetary, from budget, budgetary. Okay, also 1 or 2 years out early, then put dollars in the budget plan, and it's accurate from minus 10% to 25% accurate. Okay, and also the short time make it more accurate. The short time of estimates, 1 month of estimates, will be accurate more than 2 years of estimates. The definitive, or the third, is later in the project, less than 1 year out. What about it? It provides details for purchases, estimates actual costs. So it's regarding the purchase, your raw materials and so on. And at the same time, it estimates actual. It runs to estimate how much will be the total costs, how much it will be. That's how it works. The accurate of the definitive type of cost estimate is from minus 5% to 10%. So here, the rough order of magnitude is like from minus 50% to 100% sure. Okay. Of course, the type of cost and the number of the costs will change from a place to a place, from area to area. from an environment, business environment to another business environment. The vitality of the countries and the fluctuation of the economic, all these effects on the cost estimates. Countries with revolutions and wars, and those are having a very non-precise estimates because of the highly fluctuation and the high risk. So numbers and types of cost estimates vary by application area where you will apply this. The Association for the Advancement of Cost Engineering International identifies the 5 types of cost estimates for construction projects. Regarding the construction projects, we have 5 types of estimates: order of magnitude, or conceptual, or preliminary, definitive, and control. Those are the 5 types, and we will handle those together in a few minutes. Estimates are usually done at various stages, yes, of a project, and should become more accurate as time progresses. So the more you do these estimates, the more you will be more precise in your work. A large percentage of total project cost are often labor cost. Usually, the labor cost is the most or the big portion of the total costs. Usually, it is the big portion of the total cost in always the labor cost, because it takes a big exhaust a major part or the major slide of the pizza in any project, the labor cost. The materials, the raw materials, exactly like when you buy a house and you bring a handyman or labor, you will find that the cost, the most very remarkable cost, is the costs of the labor or the worker. So as example, you will see that the raw materials might be $100. Any other inputs $50. That's all 150, and the labor cost 900, because usually the labor costs are the big portion of the total cost, the great portion of the total cost. This table can show you the maximum FTE by department for year. So here, as example, we have the information system in year 1 cost us 24 units or monetary units, like 24 million or $1,000. The marketing system costs 3. The reservation cost 12 monetary units, dollars. The contractors 2. Then when you add them together, 24 plus 3 plus 12 plus 2, that will come to 41. Then you will compare this with the year 2 and the year 3 and year 4 and year 5, and you will get the total as well. So the total will be all this up when you add them up: 41 plus 66 plus 72 plus 25. So this will be 23, even though if you add them up horizontal or vertical, you will get 227. So this is the total cost for the 5 years. The total costs for the 5 years. Okay. Cost estimates and tools, techniques also. We have 2 kinds of cost estimates. We have analog, which we call it top-down estimates. The analog or top-down estimates use the actual costs of a previous similar project as the basis for estimating the cost of the current project. So it's very clear now that these kind of costs, we call it analog costs, which we call it top-down estimates, And that means that you use another project costs and you take it and you measure your own cost based on that cost similar to the cost of a previous one. But of course, it's for a short period. Like as example, you did a project construction project. So it costs you like $1 million. So you will do a new one very close in the period of time, like a 1 month, 2 months period of time. So the risk will be low because still the period of time is not that long. So you will have estimates for the cost, same likewise that one which you did. So you use the past costs to estimate your new project cost. This we call it again analog or top-down estimates for costs. The second type of cost, we call it bottom-up estimates. Bottom-up estimates, which involve estimating individual work items or activities and summing them to get a project total. So involving estimating individual work items or activities. So I will estimate this phase based on, I will segment it, I will cut it into pieces. Like as example, I want to do this glass. So the sand, to bring the sand, this will cost me $100. Then after that, to put the sand in ovens and change it into the chemical substance which make the glass, this will cost $10. Then after that, doing the glass and paint it with this blue paints will cost $6. So I will estimate each phase of the production, how much it costs, that we call it bottom-up estimates. Again, involve estimating individual work items or activities and summing them to get the project total. So I will add this and this and this $100 and $50 and $20, whatever together to get estimate for how much this glass will cost me. The third one, we call it parametric modeling. Parameter means you can measure it. The words parametric means you can measure, able to measure. So use project characteristics, parameters, in a mathematical model. That's what I'm telling you, because we will also use this in pricing to estimate project costs. And I will show you how we will do this when we come to the practical part. So you use math, you use formulas to calculate the product cost, how much it will be. So now we will go back. Control and C, and I will go now to a new slide and I will say, what are the Control and V, and here we go. What are the basic tools and techniques for cost estimates? And the answer is in this page. We have top-down estimates, bottom-up estimates, parametric modeling. Okay, or if I tell you what are the types of estimates of cost estimates, same likewise when I tell you what are the types of cost estimation, then you will tell me those three types. Perfect. So here I will put the answer. What are the types of cost estimates? Here we go. And I will leave you here for 5 minutes for answering this question. Please, again, send your answers into the Google chat. You can see this is the Google chat box or the chat box. Sorry, this is the chat box. So send your answers to me here for this question. What are the basic tools and techniques for cost estimates? That will be the answer of this question. Also, Are there sometimes problems in cost estimation to estimate the costs? If there is some problems that we usually find when we estimate costs, yes, there is. Typical problems with IT costs and estimates. If the estimates are done very quickly, then there must, in anything is done quickly, there must be problems in it. Anything that is done quickly, there must be problems. People lack estimating experience. If the people do not have experience in estimating the costs and they are newly to the industry, then in that case, the cost will not be precise or accurate. Human beings are biased towards underestimation. So the nature of human usually do not estimate 100% right. They estimate less than what's supposed to be, or their precise is not complete to the complete estimation or the right estimation 100%. They usually estimate the amounts of money less than it should be. Okay, management desires accuracy also, and that's what we will see when we see the types of managers and the types of decisions and the criterias like the max of the max, maximum of the maximum criteria, the maximum of the minimum of the minimum criteria, and the minimum of the maximum. So those are criteria, depends on the decision taker and his preferences and his favors. So he might choose one of the criteria because it's exactly like you. People are different, so their opinions regarding the estimations also will differ based on their own preferences and their own favors. So for the cost estimates, see the text for detailed example for creating a cost estimate for the surveyor pro project desired in the opening case. Before creating an estimate, know what it will be used for. Gather as much information as possible and clarify the ground rules and assumptions for the estimate which you are making. If possible, estimate costs by major WS categories. Create a cost model to make it easy to make changes. So make a template that it will be easy to change in the costs in any time. Okay. Okay. I'm just not for numbers now. Thank you so much.